The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the show. David Pakman here. A lot to talk about today. A little bit later, we'll be hearing from Matt Lewis from the Daily Caller. He is actually a conservative who agrees that Newt Gingrich's explanation for his flip-flop on Libya, it just doesn't make any sense. So at least it's not just us on the left, Lewis, saying that. I guess that's a good sign.
I think anyone with a good head on their shoulders would realize it makes absolutely no sense.
In Tokyo, we're here. That'll be later on. Before we get into that, Tokyo Electric Power Company, or TEPCO, has reported that the radiation level in the containment building of reactor number 2 at the stricken Fukushima nuclear power plant is 10 million times above normal. So first we heard 10 times, 100 times. It continues to grow. And the officialdom of Japan soon backtracked on those numbers and said, well, those numbers weren't really accurate. New tests have been ordered. That number actually isn't credible. And if you're saying to yourself, well, why do we keep hearing high numbers and then hearing them backtracked on? Are they really just every single time mistakenly thinking the radiation is higher than it is? Well, no. Many people think this is just it's a cover-up. And it wouldn't be the first time. With past nuclear accidents, the Japanese government has been less than forthcoming about the real radiation numbers. And this is, it is what may be going on now. Last week, Japan's nuclear agency said levels of radioactive iodine in sea near the plant had risen to 1,850 times the usual level. It claims a half a liter of the water contains the same amount of radiation that a person can safely be exposed to in a year. Then, appearing on Sunday talk shows, the cabinet secretary, Yukio Edano, said radioactive water is almost certainly seeping from a reactor core. And again, TEPCO and the Japanese government have consistently covered up the real nature of the threat. They've lied to the public about radiation danger. And in addition to avoiding safety inspections at the plant, TEPCO falsified safety and repair reports, according to documents released by WikiLeaks, GE, the builder of the reactors, and TEPCO knew early on that this plant was a disaster waiting to happen. I'm not surprised. We've seen this in the past.
Right, but now what is the point? I mean, I assume the point of covering up exactly how much radiation there is just to avoid panic at this point. I mean, what do they really have to gain by doing that now? It's
a lot about also keeping other countries out, because if they admit to the reality of how bad what's going on is, other countries will insist on coming in, because it's starting to, we're seeing radiation in Seattle. People getting off flights from Tokyo in Chicago and Dallas reportedly set off radiation meters.
Yeah.
This is going to force other countries to say, you guys are not handling this well. We're getting involved.
But what's going on here? Are they trying to salvage something that's unsalvageable
in terms
with these
of
plants?
The plant?
Right.
I don't think it's about that. No, I think it's about the...
I mean, I'm no expert, but it seems like something a bit more radical could be done to quell the radiation.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, the question is, some of those
these are billion-dollar plants.
Some of those more radical things could be suicide missions, and they may have or choose to do that. You're absolutely right.
We'll see.
Tests conducted just a few days ago showed iodine levels, iodine 131 levels in seawater about 20 miles out off the coast were about 1,250 times higher than normal. Again, the officials in Japan say this is an unusual level, but no threat to marine life, no threat to food safety. They don't know that. They do not know that. A number of countries have banned milk and produce from areas around the plant. Others are monitoring the seafood. Scientists quoted by the corporate media continue to insist that radioactive particles are too diluted to cause any harm. That's what we keep hearing. Well, anything that's crossing over the Pacific Ocean, it's too diluted to really cause harm. The reality is, honest scientists are saying the Japanese have not forwarded sufficient information on the nuclear meltdown. The quality and quantity of information coming out of Japan leaves a lot of holes in terms of understanding what happened. And independent researchers dispute claims that this is just so diluted that it's not dangerous. The Weather Online posted a number of models showing really dangerous concentrations of iodine 131 and cesium 137 coming into the U.S. through the jet stream. Bottom line is, we cannot trust the corporate media on this, Lewis. TEPCO's Fukushima office acknowledged Saturday it had known earlier that the radiation in the underground level of the turbine building of one of the reactors was extremely high, but had not made the information available to pertinent parties.
You really need to tell me we can't trust corporate media?
What I'm saying is even on things that presumably aren't political, right? This isn't about, what are the Democrats doing? What are the Republicans doing? This is an issue of public safety. This is an issue from another country that is now coming over and affecting the United States. I know I don't need to tell you, but even on non-political issues.
I mean, it just comes down to money, right? It comes down to these companies protecting their own interests.
That's a big part of it. How much influence does Japan have over other countries? I don't know. How much influence is Japan exerting over the so-called experts that are appearing on corporate media?